So we were having this discussion in the office here, and so I want to do a quick video about what is boot flex. 6-7 years ago, when we first established the U.S. distribution, we had a lot of questions. Guys were asking, like, what's the flex like? So we came up with a flex rating, 1 to 5. 1 being the lightest flex, 5 being the stiffest flex. If you've seen the Crispi lineup, you certainly have looked at that feature on. I want to talk a little bit about the flex is not always just the same across different boots that have the same flex. Hopefully that makes sense. I want to show you first off this. This is a side cut of a boot. It shows you what is the sole and midsole right here, and the liner, as well as this portion right here is the board last. And the board last is really what helps create the foundation for flex, but it doesn't always dictate exactly the same flex across multiple boots that might have that exact same board last. And I'll explain here in just 1 second what I mean by that. But that board last, because it goes all the way throughout the boot, creates a constant or a continuous flex of the boot, rather than what some boots do, some work boots, for example, that might have a steel shank, and that shank may come a portion of the boot, for example, from the heel out to the arch of the foot. And so you create almost an unnatural flex situation where you have a flex point that's not necessarily natural to the foot. A natural foot flex is out by the ball of the foot or where the toes are. And so the board last will change its density based on the position where it's found in the foot. Right here in front of me, I have 2 different board lasts. And we use these here in the office. We'll go to shows. If you've been to one of the shows, we've got these around. We want to try and show you, our customers and guys that are looking at boots, or gals that are looking at boots, what are the ingredients we're putting in. So these are 2 different board lasts, 2 different thicknesses. This one is what we find in the Hunter. It's really at a 4 flex, and it's thicker through here. It has some build up through the center, but it creates kind of a flex. And this is really, I mean, you're not naturally going to do this, but it creates kind of a flex that's a little bit beefier. When you team that up with the sole midsole, you create also a different type of flex. If I was using a thinner sole or midsole, even with the same 4 flex of this, I would get a different 4 flex, and hopefully that makes sense. You bounce over to what we have this is in the Monaco. It's basically almost paper thin. Now the Monaco goes down to a 1.5 flex. I mean, that's just like, it's almost flip-flop style. But you have a little bit more stability in the heel portion, less stability out here in the ball of the foot where the naturally going to flex. So I've got some boots here in front of me. These 3 boots, Crossover, Ativa Mid, and Laponia, all are 2 flex based on our rating system, meaning they have the same board last or a similar constructed board last inside the boot. But what I want to talk to you and mention and just highlight, and this is something we have conversations all the time with guys, is because of the various ingredients, sole, midsole, upper material, the upper plays a lot more of a role into the flex than a lot of guys think. The upper construction as well as the mid and lower construction will change the flex throughout the boot. So this is a 2 flex. I mean, this is not really what you would naturally do, but flexing them here in my hands, I can feel there's stability through here. There's a little less give or more give here in the toe. Jumping over to the Laponia, same type of thing. It almost wants to, if I'm pushing on the sides, which is not natural, it wants to flex. This is an easier flex. This feels easier for me in the hand than this does. This feels like there's a little more beef to it. Now I jump over to the Ativa Mid at a 2 flex. It flexes at a different spot, and it does feel like it's a little bit, it definitely feels a little beefier, and I know we're not talking by much, than Laponia. It's a little harder to flex. So let's look at why that would be the case. So you're looking at the soles on all 3 of these boots. You've got different rubber compounds, different depths of tread. Well, the depths of tread are pretty similar, but different amounts of tread on each one of these boots. If you look at the midsole, Crossover midsole, a little bit thicker. Ativa has 2 different Elastoflex, EVA midsole densities in here. Laponia has 2 different EVA midsoles, a little thinner, a little less material. So even though you look at a 2 flex in our lineup, and we try to categorize that for simplicity, it kind of becomes a little more complex because you have to consider what else is built into the boot. It's not just the board last that's creating the flex, it's what are the ingredients on top as well as underneath. So as you're looking at our boots in this lineup, in this example, these are all 2 flex. I physically feel something different in each one, and underfoot, they feel different as well. The flex underfoot is not going to be like a point like this or like I did with the Laponia. The flex is going to certainly feel more natural, more distance between the heel and the toe, not necessarily pivoting at one point, which is what I'm doing here in my hand. Jumping over to one more example, both the Thor as well as the Colorado are a 4 flex. Same board last, same flex rating on our scale of 1 to 5, but very, very different. Again, this is a very, very lightweight boot, a little heavier boot. Look at the ingredients. The bottom sole, the Vibram sole versus the Crispi sole, less rubber, less material, not quite as thick on the Thor. Thicker, definitely beefier on the Colorado. Midsole differences, definitely a thicker midsole on the Colorado. Just more material in there. There's absolute, so you're obviously going to get a little bit stiffer or different flex out of this boot simply on the midsole versus on the EVA super lightweight dual density midsole, which is less material. And then when you look at the upper, you've got a lot more fabric, the PU Tech in the Thor, than you do in the Colorado. You've got EVA, or excuse me, polyurethane coated leather rand on both of them, but higher rand. You've got leather underneath that, suede leather coming up through the tongue area where you've got stretched nylon in the Thor. So from a flex standpoint, this is still pretty beefy, but underfoot, I've worn both these boots and hunted in both these boots. Not night and day, but different 4 flex. As far as torsional stability, you're definitely gonna get good torsional stability out of that 4 flex on both these boots. But again, you've got different ankle support in the upper versus in this. And you might say, well, Kendall, why are you talking about ankle support with respect to the flex? The entire boot will influence the feel that you have, not just what's in the board last or what's under the sole. So as you start to look at what type of boot you want, as we talk to thousands of hunters every year when your guys are calling in or where it shows asking, I want a 2 flex. The thing you have to start considering is not all 2 flexes, not all 4 flexes, not all 3 flexes are equal across the board. Look at the ingredients around the boot, underneath, middle, and on top, and start to decide maybe how those might feel. Obviously, the best thing is to jump into one of our dealers, get your feet into a Crispi, your feet into it, this 2, and that 2, and that 2, or into both these 4 flexes, and then start to try and figure out what is it that I'm looking for? What am I trying to feel or accomplish, or what do I want from a boot in the field, which is obviously where it counts the most. So this is a super interesting discussion for us. I hope it's insightful for you as you're really trying to decide what does a flex rating mean and what am I really looking for in a particular flex. Certainly this is not the end of the discussion, but hopefully it gives you a little bit of insight or a little bit more ammunition in deciding what am I looking for in the type of features in a Crispi boot.